So at the beginning of the month, I looked at ghosts caught on video. Then I looked at some EVPs. But last week I thought, I am missing something. Then it hit me. I forgot photography. And holy shit, is there a lot of images out there. And looking at 10 would be a small video. So looking at 20. I will analyze them as well, look at backstories if I can find them. As always, I can't be bothered to put these in order. It's supposed to be a fun video, not a top 20 blah blah blah. So here are 20 ghostly images. To start, we look at a photo from a man named Joe Martinez. He went to a party for his in-laws. Something of a celebration turned into something shocking. He had a picture taken, and behind him, around his shoulder, was a face of a dog. According to Martinez, the image is a demon dog or Satan himself, which... why would the Lord of Darkness show up as a Bork and not like, you know, the devil? I digress. It was enough to scare him straight. Apparently he was a drug addict, and the day that this happened, he decided to quit drugs altogether. To me, it just looks like a dog, maybe standing on something in the background looking over Martinez's shoulder. Doesn't even look scary. Just looks like a dog panting. But now I'm wondering what flavor treats to give a demon dog. It could not be something simple like human souls. It has to be something weird like, I don't know, Pelican? In 1987, a woman only identified as Mrs. Sayer and some friends went to an airfield in Yelverton, England. Mrs. Sayer sat in a retired helicopter that was on display at the Fleet Arm Air Station. She claims that no one was sitting next to her. But when the film was developed, it seems that there was a man sitting next to her in the pilot's seat. She would tell investigators for the Society for Psychical Research that she did feel cold sitting there. The helicopter itself was used during the Falklands War, but there is no information on if anybody died in it. This is a perfect opportunity, though, to talk about pareidolia. Pareidolia is a tendency for our eyes to see similar patterns in objects. To give an example, here is a log. Do you see a face in it? That is a pattern that looks like a face. It really isn't a face. But back to the image. I bring this up because a lot of skeptics or people who just like the word will point out pareidolia. But here's the issue with this. While you can argue that the background is white and thus this could cause a pareidolia effect to happen, the seat is not white. It looks like somebody is sitting in the seat itself. You can even make out a collar. If I had to take a guess on what this could be without being paranormal, is a double exposure. It happens in film cameras, and since this came from a film camera, that's most likely the case. A double exposure happens when a camera doesn't cycle, leaving the image you just took to be taken twice. Art photographers use it all the time to be artsy and shit. It can happen simply by the camera not cycling the image to a blank one for exposure. Sometime in the mid-1950s, a family moved to an old house somewhere in Texas. The Cooper family decided to sit down in the dining room to commemorate their moving and took a photo. With the father behind the camera, they snapped the photo. Days later, Papa Cooper took the film to be developed. So imagine their surprise when one photo showed a person hanging from the ceiling. So unless the family is into some shady shit, the body wasn't there when the photo was taken. That being said though, the earliest date for when this photo was unearthed is 2009. It could be photoshopped. Some have claimed double exposure, but the hanging man looks too clear. I can't say that this is a real photo because it was first circulated in 2009. I don't know why anyone would want to hang on to a photo that disturbing for 54 years if it actually is from the 1950s. In 1936, the publication Country Life sent photographers to Rainham Hall in Norfolk, England. While taking photographs of the stairs, the photographer took this image. This is one of the most famous images in paranormal circles. It is said to be the proof of the haunting of Rainham Hall by the Brown Lady. The identity of the Brown Lady is supposedly Dorothy Walpole, the sister of the first Prime Minister of Great Britain, Robert Walpole. It is said that she committed adultery, and her punishment from her husband was she was locked in her rooms in her home. She remained in the home till her death in 1726 from smallpox. This one is from Reddit, and well, I really don't care about anything from Reddit, especially the paranormal stuff, because the community tends to be pissy when you point out something isn't paranormal. Anyways, a Reddit user named Oopie Spoopy Man, which I can't say with a straight face, uploaded this photo to r/ghost subreddit. According to the post, he heard shuffling and rubbing of clothes and took this photo. If you look at the door, above the knob you can see a head sticking out of the kitchen door in the dark. When you zoom in, there is no face. That is because there is an obvious blurring to the face. It is really obvious. Reddit is why I have trust issues. Boot Hill Cemetery in Tombstone, Arizona is where a lot of Old West gunfighters were laid to rest. You might have heard of Tombstone, not gonna go into it. But a guy named Ike Clanton was visiting his ancestors' graves in 1996 when he took a picture of his friend who was dressed up like some fucking Wyatt Earp looking motherfucker. But in the distance there is something standing in the bush. The shot was taken on black and white film to give it the image of an old-timey feel to it. But there is a person in the background standing in a bush to where his legs are not visible. He also seems to be on the short side. It could be that this individual was somebody who was visiting the cemetery at the same time as them, but they never saw them. Also, zoomed in, he looks like a kid to me. Another Reddit post. But this one has an article attached to it, so maybe it's better? So Kevin Matthew Dennis got married and took a selfie with his new bride. And well, look between them. Creepy black eyes thing with a laugh on its face. Now here comes my opinion. Something I noticed right away with this picture, the face in the background, well, the lighting doesn't match the rest of the photo. It looks like a creepy face was added to the photo. If the face was behind them, then the forehead of the creepy image would have a lot more shadowing than it does because of Dennis's cheek. You can also see on Dennis's cheek and tuck spots, the face doesn't blend in well, suggesting it was added. But this is just my opinion. What do you think? So the Stanley Hotel in Colorado is considered to be one of the most haunted locations in America. It was also the inspiration for the book, The Shining. If I remember right, it also was used as a setting for the Kubrick movie, but I don't remember and I'm too busy with this and wedding stuff and other things to look it up right now. So a couple were a part of a ghost tour and they took photos throughout the night. In one, they caught what they believed to be an apparition. But I can tell you this, it was probably nothing. Here is why. First, look at the photo. There is a lot of blur, lens flare, and motion blur. So the girl on the stairs was probably somebody who was walking down the stairs that was mistaken for a ghost due to the way the motion blur made her look. Why is this considered a ghost photo? I have seen this on Reddit, on Google Images, and other places. Here's the thing, it's already been debunked. It was taken off a trail cam and it shows a little girl dancing. Well, it's not a ghost. Turns out, a grandfather took his granddaughter on a hike and well, they came across a trail cam. The grandfather called the chief of police in Cambridge, New York to tell him the truth. So yes, this is not paranormal. I added it though because I wanted to point out how the mundane and the average could accidentally be considered a ghost with absolutely no evidence to it. Now, back to ones that can't easily be explained. This next photo was taken by Reverend Kenneth F. Lord inside the Church of Christ the Counselor on the grounds of Newby Hall in North Yorkshire in the UK. The image, taken in 1963, is commonly thought to be a monk wearing a shroud. Experts who have looked at the photo have concluded it is not a double exposure, but that is still disputed. 2010 was an awesome year. Kinda miss how simple things were back then. I was 28 and a whole lot thinner. Anyways, this picture was taken in Wem in the UK. A couple of friends were hanging out in front of a building, as you do. Well, if you look in the window, you can see what looks like a person standing there. The woman who took the photo says it looks like a woman holding a baby. To me, it just looks like a smudge on the window. Another window, this time in Louisiana. And this will be simple, I can't find much on it. But here's my take. It is stuff inside and pareidolia rearing its ugly head. That was simple. From what I have found, the person who at least put it in a gallery claims that it's a woman peeking out of the window. That is a stretch. This photo was apparently shot in the early 1900s. It is a picture of some women who worked in a linen mill. All of them have their arms crossed. And Thing apparently worked at the mill before moving in with Gomez and Morticia because it seems that he is in the picture. Is Thing a he? I'm not sure, anyways, that's not the point. There's a hand laying on the woman's shoulder if you haven't guessed it already. Can't say when the next one was taken because I couldn't find any information on when the next one was taken, but it was taken on a lake. It shows Kim Davidson, her friend's 3 kids, along with her own kid. This has got to be Crystal Lake because the creepy Jason looking kid in the middle peeking out of the water. Apparently the ghost is of a girl who drowned in 1913 at the lake they are at. So Jenna Voorhees? Anyways, it looks a bit weird to me. I cannot argue pareidolia for this one because fuck if I know. Sybil Corbett took the next photograph in 1891. So there's a dude sitting in the chair. This could be a double image, but there is a dude sitting in the chair. That dude is Lord Combermere, who is a British cavalry officer. The photograph was taken at an abbey's library in Cheshire, England. Dude sitting in the chair has no legs. He also seems to be resting his arm on the chair. If this was a double image, then they would have had to have a man who sat in the chair, then took a picture of that man sitting in the chair, and then taken a picture of an empty chair over that image. Finally, a frickin' photo with a full date to it. On March 22nd, 1959, Mabel Chinnery took a photo of her husband in their car. Her mother, Ellen Hamill, had just passed away a week before, and they had just gone to her funeral. And then it was off to the graveyard. Chinnery brought her camera to take photos of the graveyard and the gravestone for her mother. After she was done, she returned to the car and decided to take a picture of her husband patiently waiting in the car. When the film was developed, a person appeared to be sitting in the back seat. Chinnery feels that it was her mother going on one last ride with her daughter and son-in-law. Back to Reddit. Yay. Fucking Reddit. Anyways, a user named 13th Sage claims that a resident of a nursing home their mother works for took this photo. It shows a black mass by the door. 13th Sage claims that it's death coming for the old people. I don't know why, but I think it is more likely that 13th Sage took the photo and added a black mass in Photoshop. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it has something to do with the fact that the photo is very grainy while the black mass is really, really smooth. I don't know. Maybe it's that. Who knows? I'm just throwing out ideas. In November of 1988, a woman named Rose was driving through New York on her way to Connecticut. Then a stray Bork appeared and she swerved to miss it, like a good human being would do. But then the airbag deployed and she crashed. She claims that she saw a guardian angel and it saved her life. She did survive that crash. Sharon Boo, who, for really quickly, has the most appropriate name for this, took the photo. She took multiple pictures of the wreck, because that was her job. But this is the only image where a white figure can be seen. Before I get into this one, there is something I need to get off my chest. I do not believe that the Amityville Horror was based on a true story. I think it was the Lutz family trying to cash in on the controversy of the home. For those of you who don't know, the same home the Lutz family had purchased and then later fled was the home of the DeFeo family before them. Ronald DeFeo Jr. would murder his whole entire family in the house. One of those siblings that he murdered was John Matthew DeFeo, who was 9 at the time. During the hoopla of the Amityville Horror, a bunch of paranormal investigations happened, and that was when this photo was taken. An image of a boy who looks like John Matthew peeks out of a room. This last one I'm going to look at is one of my own. I used to do ghost hunts for fun, but I really grew out of it a very long time ago. Back in 2010, my soon-to-be wife and I decided to test out some equipment in a graveyard where my mother is buried. Mostly because it was not in a city, it's in the middle of nowhere. Really nothing was going on, just a bit windy due to overlooking a lake and the fact that it was raining. My wife had my camera, so she was taking pictures. She snapped this picture and it baffles me. You see, there's a shape that looks like a person standing between two gravestones. When zoomed in, it kind of looks like you can see a face. It could be a trick of the eye. It could be my imagination running wild. But something about this photo makes me want to debunk it, which is why I'm gonna look into it. Halloween night, going up right at midnight on the 31st, will be a special video. I'm going back to the graveyard that I snapped that picture in and will be attempting to explain it. I am dusting off my gear and heading out for this one event. So stay tuned for Halloween Special 2, the Graveyard Ghost Hunt.